The world was waking. It didn't happen with fanfare or announcements. There were no headlines at first, only whispers, small revelations that spread like sunlight through clouds. People everywhere began to recall events they had never lived but somehow remembered. Cities that had existed and disappeared, discoveries that had been lost to time, and warnings of choices made too quickly. Mira stood on the deck of a research vessel above the Pacific, watching the core pulse beneath the waves. The blue light from the sphere illuminated the ocean like a second sky. Every flicker carried fragments of memory into the world above. Humanity had awakened to a truth it had never fully known. Elias stood beside her, quiet for once. "It's working," he said. "The memory. It's spreading," Mira nodded. Her fingers grazed the tablet in her pocket, the device that held the beacon's files. The encrypted data had begun to open on its own, forming readable patterns. Knowledge that had been locked for countless cycles flowed into her hands. "We've given them a chance," Mira whispered. "A real chance." Across the globe, ordinary people began acting differently. Scientists made breakthroughs by following forgotten instructions. Engineers rebuilt failed technologies with insights from past cycles. Communities remembered cooperation long lost to greed or fear. In the deserts of Africa, people unearthed ancient structures, their purposes clear now because the memory guided them. In Europe, rivers that had once flooded cities were redirected before disaster struck. In Asia, forests were replanted with a precision humans had forgotten. The world was alive with action born from memory, a consciousness awakening. Mira realized then what Kale had meant. The beacon was not just a warning. It was a bridge linking humanity's past with its future. And now for the first time people could truly learn, but the keepers were not gone. They moved silently through the skies, unseen by the general population. Their forms shimmered like silver smoke, scanning for the core, for Mira, for anyone who carried the memory. From deep beneath the ocean, Mira felt a disturbance, a ripple of energy so strong it made the vessel shudder. The keepers were attacking, trying to sever the connection between humanity and the core. "They've adapted," Kale's voice warned. "They are stronger than before. You must protect the memory directly." Mira's hands glowed as she touched the tablet. The files streamed into her consciousness, giving her vision beyond the vessel. She could see the keepers converging, their forms immense, almost impossible to comprehend. But she also saw humans responding, acting with knowledge they had never been taught. They were remembering and working together. "The world is fighting back," she said. "They don't even know it yet." Kale's voice was calm. "Good. The more they remember, the stronger they become. Do not falter now." The largest keeper approached the core. Its presence distorted the water, bending light and shadows in unnatural ways. Mira felt fear, but she focused. The core responded to her determination, forming a protective barrier of light that extended miles into the ocean. The keeper slammed against it, but the shield held. Mira knew she had to act beyond defense. She opened her mind fully to the beacon's memory, letting knowledge flow through her body into the core and outward into the world. Every thought, every memory, every lesson became a pulse of energy that reached humans everywhere. The keepers recoiled. They had never faced a force like this before. Humans, aware of the past, acting together, resisting erasure. "Now," Kale said, "let them see the choice." Mira's voice joined the projection. "Humanity remembers. Every life, every mistake, every victory, you are all part of it. Learn and you can rise." Across the planet, the effect was astonishing. In the Americas, children and adults alike experienced visions of past cycles, understanding what had been lost and what could be preserved. Inventors remembered forgotten formulas. Cities adjusted to prevent disasters. People worked together instinctively, guided by the memory that Mira and the core had released. In Europe, communities held forums where they shared visions of the past and worked to correct errors before they happened. Governments, scientists, and civilians began to cooperate in ways that had never existed before. The world's network hummed with understanding. In Asia, engineers repaired energy grids that had long been inefficient, guided by memories of civilizations that had thrived or failed. Forests were replanted, deserts irrigated, and old rivers restored. Humanity was responding to a call it had never truly heard, until now. Mira realized that knowledge alone was not enough. Understanding had to reach the heart, and slowly it was. The keepers struck again, unleashing a massive wave of energy that cracked the ocean's surface. The core pulsed in response, but the shields were straining. Mira knew that direct confrontation was inevitable. She gripped the tablet, her mind sinking completely with the core. The memories she carried, Kale's guidance. The beacon's warnings became a force she could wield. Energy flowed from her through the core into the ocean, then into the sky, forming pillars of light that cut through the clouds. The largest keeper materialized fully above the core, its form enormous, its presence overwhelming. "You cannot preserve them," it said, voice resonating like thunder. "They will forget and the cycle will continue." Mira met its gaze, her voice steady. "They will not forget. Humanity remembers now. And memory cannot be erased," the keeper struck. Energy clashed with energy. The ocean roared. But each pulse of light from Mira and the core reinforced the memories of people worldwide. Humans everywhere reacted instinctively. Ships changed course, cities strengthened defenses, scientists collaborated on solutions. Every memory amplified the energy protecting the core. The keeper faltered. Mira pressed harder. "Remember. Learn. Rise." And then it happened. The keeper's form began to dissolve, unable to withstand the force of millions of memories united. It dissipated into strands of silver light, which drifted into the atmosphere and became part of the energy network that connected humanity with the core. The remaining keepers, seeing the strength of human memory and unity, retreated. They were not destroyed, they were guardians of the past, but they had learned a new truth. Humans could no longer be erased or silenced. Kale's voice spoke softly in Mira's mind. "You have done it. Humanity will not forget this cycle. You have given them choice, and with choice comes hope." Mira sank to her knees, exhausted but filled with a profound sense of accomplishment. Elias knelt beside her. "We did it," he whispered. "No," Mira said, smiling faintly. "They did it. Humanity did it. We just reminded them who they are." In the weeks that followed, the world transformed. Knowledge of past cycles became accessible to all, though filtered carefully to prevent panic. Education and technology accelerated. Cooperation became instinctual. Humanity learned not only from its history but from the history of the world itself. Mira continued to work with scientists and scholars, sharing the memory of the beacon. She never revealed the full power of the core, knowing some truths were too vast to handle at once, but she guided humanity carefully, showing them how to act wisely. Kyle's projection appeared occasionally, offering advice, encouragement, and insight. Though his form was faint, his presence comforted her. The stars above seemed to twinkle differently now. Mira often gazed at them, feeling the universe's eyes upon her. Earth was no longer just a planet, it was a warning, a teacher, and now a protector. Humanity had remembered, and the next cycle would be different. Years later, Mira stood at a conference addressing the world's leaders and scholars. Her voice was steady, carrying the weight of truth and hope. "Earth has always been more than a planet," she said. "It carries the memory of who we are, what we have been, and what we can become. We have been given a choice, a chance to learn from the past and to rise stronger than ever. Let us never forget, and let us never allow the silence to return." The audience rose in applause, not just for her, but for the memory she had awakened in every heart. Across continents, people felt the message resonate. Knowledge was alive. Humanity was awake. And for the first time in countless cycles, the future was truly in their hands. Deep beneath the ocean, the core pulsed gently, a heartbeat steady as a promise. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, the universe watched with quiet approval, knowing that this time, humans had risen to meet their own potential. Mira smiled. The story of Earth was no longer a warning, it was a beginning. The world didn't wake all at once. At first it was subtle, a flicker in the news feeds, strange glitches in the satellites, unexplainable signals on radios. People dismissed it as a technological error, but soon everyone who paid attention began to notice patterns, symbols, rhythms, flashes of light. Across every continent, humanity's collective memory seemed to stir. Mira stood on the observation deck of the deep-sea vessel, staring at the core's glowing pulse beneath the ocean. The lights above the water shimmered like a living aurora. Every signal that reached the surface carried fragments of memory. Cities of the past, voices long forgotten, warnings of mistakes made in previous cycles. Do you see it? Elias asked beside her. His voice trembled with awe. People are noticing. Mira nodded. Her heart raced. Noticing, yes. But understanding, that will take time. Suddenly the vessel shook. Sensors spiked violently. Mira's tablet flashed warnings. They've come, Kale's voice said through the projection system. The keepers are aware. They will attempt to stop the spread. What do we do? Elias asked, panic in his tone. Keep the core alive, Mira said firmly. If the core survives, humanity will have a chance. If it falls, everything resets again. Above the ocean, a formation appeared in the sky. Sleek metallic shapes glided silently, almost like shadows against the stars. The keepers had arrived. Through the vessel's sonar, Mira could hear a low hum, a resonance that seemed to search for her, scanning every wave, every current. She pressed a hand against the core's projection. The blue light responded, forming a shield-like barrier around the structure. They can't touch it yet, Kale said, but they will try to force it open. Elias gripped the console. How? They're huge. How can we defend? They aren't like us, Mira interrupted. They are memories themselves built to preserve silence. But the core is stronger when someone listens. I'm the listener. Kale's image glowed brighter. Remember, Mira, you are the bridge. Humanity's memory flows through you. You can awaken them or let them sleep. Mira took a deep breath. The core's energy pulsed in her veins. She touched the surface, feeling warmth and knowledge flow into her mind. She could see past cycles. Millions of lives, countless mistakes, all the warnings left by civilizations long gone. Humanity isn't just one story, she whispered. It's many stories layered over time. And we can learn. The keepers struck first. Outside the vessel, waves shifted unnaturally as if the ocean itself obeyed their command. The largest ship of the keepers emitted a pulse of energy, sending shock waves through the water. The vessel rocked violently. Hold on, Elias shouted. Alarms blared as the core responded, sending ripples of light to counteract the attack. Mira pressed her hands harder against the glowing walls. The memory of humanity surged through her. Courage, love, invention, and resilience. Every flicker of the core's light amplified her focus. The keeper's beams struck the structure again and again. Some of the vessels began to falter under the energy the core emitted. Kale's projection shouted over the hum, "Do not fear them. You have the truth now. They cannot erase what has been remembered." Mira's voice joined his. She spoke into the core itself. "We remember. All of us, listen." The water around the structure shimmered. The core's glow extended outward, sending pulses through the sea into the atmosphere, and finally through every digital network on Earth. Lights flickered in cities, satellites pulsed, radios buzzed with the same repeating pattern that first drew Mira's attention. Humanity unknowingly began to tune in. On land across the globe, people reacted differently. Some saw visions in their dreams, cities that had risen and fallen, warnings of floods, fires, and wars that could have been avoided. Others saw symbols in the skies and on screens, feeling an unexplainable connection to the past. News anchors struggled to explain it. Governments scrambled, unsure whether it was a coordinated attack, a global hallucination, or something else entirely. Yet, slowly, people began to share what they experienced. Social media overflowed with pictures, videos, and descriptions of visions, symbols, and warnings. "This is incredible," Elias said, staring at the growing network of human responses. "They're noticing. They're really noticing." Mira smiled faintly, though her hand still shook. Noticing is the first step. Understanding is the second. And if they understand, they will act differently. The keepers adapted. Their forms moved faster now, slicing through the water with precision. Their energy pulses became more aggressive, attempting to break through the core's shield. Mira knew she had to protect the core directly. She placed her palms on the sphere at its center. Images of Earth's past flashed before her. The rise of civilizations, the fall of cities, the warnings ignored, the lives lost. Each memory flowed into her mind like rushing water. She focused on one thought: survival through knowledge. Humans must remember, not just feel the memory. They must learn, not repeat the past. A surge of energy erupted from the core, forming a massive sphere of light that reached the surface, breaking through the ocean's waves and reaching into the atmosphere. The keepers recoiled, their energy forms flickering under the force of the core's power. Kale's voice rang in her ears. "You are the spark, Mira. Humanity can rise now because of you. Hold steady. On land, people everywhere stopped what they were doing. Children looked up at the sky. Workers paused in the middle of their tasks. And then collectively, a wave of understanding passed through humanity. A shared recognition that Earth was not just a planet, but a message. Across oceans, deserts, and cities, humans felt a memory stir deep within them. Small decisions, kindnesses, innovations, and warnings from the past resurfaced. They remembered what had been lost. And with that memory came hope. Mira felt the energy flow into her like fire in her veins. She knew she could no longer remain in the vessel. She had to broadcast the knowledge herself, guiding humanity to the core's truth. "I need to connect it," she whispered. To all of them, Kale nodded. "Yes, let them see the path clearly. They will choose differently this time." The keepers made their final attempt. They converged on the vessel, energy tendrils lashing at the core. Mira braced herself, her hands glowing as she channeled every memory, every vision, every warning into the energy field around the core. The largest keeper surged forward, a massive silver form, its pulse strong enough to crush mountains. But as it approached, it faltered. "Impossible," the keeper intoned. "The core responds to a single human?" "Yes," Mira said firmly. "Because we remember, we learn, we care." Her voice amplified through the core, reaching the vessel's hull, the ocean, the atmosphere, and finally the minds of humans everywhere. For the first time, humanity's collective memory became a shield, a force strong enough to repel the keepers. The keepers recoiled, then retreated, unable to break the network of knowledge now anchored in the minds of people. Exhausted but resolute, Mira collapsed against the core. The lights dimmed to a gentle glow, no longer pulsing violently but steady, calm, and alive. She knew the keepers would return eventually, and they always did. But humanity had gained something new: choice. Elias sat beside her, gripping her hand. You did it." Mira shook her head, smiling softly. "We did it. Humanity did it. I just reminded them." Kale's projection appeared one last time, his form flickering gently. "You've done more than I ever could. The memory is alive in every mind now. Humans will not forget this cycle. And that is enough. Will we ever see you again?" Mira asked. Kale's voice was calm, distant, but full of warmth. "I am always with you in the memory and the signal in every choice you make. You will hear me when you need guidance, Mira, and when humanity is ready, they will continue the story we started together." The projection faded, leaving Mira and Elias alone in the vessel. The ocean around them was calm. The core's light shone gently beneath the waves, a heartbeat steady as a promise. Mira looked out at the horizon. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope, not fear. Earth was alive and humanity had remembered. The warning had been delivered. The choice was theirs. And somewhere beyond the stars, the universe waited, watching, knowing that this time humans might rise stronger than ever before. The ship's engines hummed softly as it cut through the frozen waves. Mira stood on the deck, wrapped in a thick coat, watching the endless white horizon fade behind them. Antarctica shrank into the mist, but the images from the beacon burned bright in her mind. She had seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations. She had felt the pain of humanity's repeated mistakes, and she had seen Kale sacrifice himself so she could carry the memory forward. Now the truth lived inside her devices, the encrypted files the beacon had placed there. But she didn't yet know how to open them. They seemed alive, shifting and glowing with patterns that changed every few hours. Sometimes she swore she could hear faint whispers when she looked at the screen too long. That night, Mira sat alone in her small cabin. Outside, the sea groaned beneath sheets of ice, and the air was filled with the sound of cracking frost. She opened the tablet again. The folder flickered once more, and a single line of text appeared. "To understand, return to where it all began." She frowned. "Where it began?" she whispered. Then it hit her, Kale's ship. The one buried in the desert canyon. After 3 long weeks of travel, Mira returned to her home country. The desert sun was hot and cruel, but she didn't care. Every step she took brought her closer to the place where this mystery had started. She rented an old off-road truck, packed supplies, and drove into the wasteland. The wind was harsh, carrying dust that stung her face, but she pressed on. She reached the canyon by nightfall. The place was quiet. The sand looked undisturbed, as if Kale's ship had never existed. But Mira knew better. She felt the hum beneath the surface, faint like a heartbeat buried under stone. She knelt and placed her hand on the ground.
"Kyle," she whispered, "if you can hear me."
I'm back. The sand shifted slightly. Then a soft blue light glowed under her palm. The disc she once carried was gone, but the beacon had marked her somehow. The light responded to her presence, forming a spiral on the ground. Slowly, the sand began to sink, revealing the metallic surface of the ship again. Mira smiled softly. I knew you wouldn't be gone forever. The entrance opened and cool air brushed against her face. Inside, the ship looked different, darker, emptier, but still alive. Symbols glowed faintly along the walls. As she stepped inside, a familiar voice spoke. You came back, her heart leaped. Kyle? A faint holographic image flickered before her. Kyle's form, weak but still graceful. His eyes glowed gently. You found the beacon, he said quietly. Yes, Mira replied. I saw everything. The resets, the keepers, the destruction, and now the files from the beacon. They're locked. I don't know how to open them. Kyle nodded. They can only be opened in one place, on the core. The core? It's the heart of Earth, he said. A network beneath the planet's surface that stores every cycle's memory. The keepers built it to hold the truth. Only a listener, like you, can reach it. Mira's voice trembled. If I go there, will I find answers? Kale's image flickered. You'll find more than answers. You'll find the choice that defines the next cycle. The next cycle? She repeated. He looked at her softly. Every reset begins when humanity is ready to forget again. You must decide if they're ready to remember. Mira felt a chill. The idea of choosing the fate of an entire world felt impossible. Why me? She whispered. Kale smiled faintly. Because you listened. The others heard the noise. You heard the meaning. The walls pulsed with light. A map appeared, showing glowing lines running beneath Earth's continents. At the center of it all was a bright point deep under the Pacific Ocean. That's the core, Kyle said. It's hidden beneath the Mariana Trench. Mira stared at the map. That's the deepest place on Earth, Kale nodded. And the most protected. The keepers guard it, but they cannot sense you, not yet. You still have time. Before she could reply, the ship shook violently. The lights dimmed and Kale's image flickered. They've found us again, he said sharply. You must go now. Mira ran to the exit. Behind her, the ship's walls began to close. She looked back one last time. Kale, she shouted. Will I see you again? His fading voice echoed faintly. I'll be with you in the core. Then the doorway sealed and the desert fell silent once more. Mira drove through the night, her mind racing. She knew what she had to do, reach the core, but she couldn't do it alone. She returned to her old laboratory, now nearly abandoned. The equipment was dusty, but some of her old colleagues still worked there. One of them, Dr. Elias Noor, was surprised to see her. Mira, we thought you vanished. He said, where have you been? She hesitated. It's a long story. I need your help, Elias. I need to go deep into the Pacific near the Mariana Trench. He blinked. That's impossible. You'd need a classified-level submarine and deep core clearance. I know, she said quietly. But I think I can get us access. Mira showed him the tablet. The encrypted files glowed faintly, forming strange symbols that even Elias, a data expert, couldn't understand. What is this? He asked. The truth, Mira replied. Hidden for centuries. Elias studied her expression and realized she wasn't joking. Something in her eyes, a deep, haunted certainty, made him believe her. All right, he said finally. If this is real, I'll help you. 3 weeks later, under the cover of a research mission, they boarded a deep-sea vessel designed for extreme depth exploration. The crew believed it was a geological study. Only Mira and Elias knew their true purpose. As the vessel descended into the endless blue, Mira felt both awe and dread. The deeper they went, the darker the world became. The sunlight vanished completely. At 10,000 meters, the sensors began to flicker. Strange energy readings filled the monitors. Something's down there, Elias said. Not rock, not metal. Something else. Mira's heart raced. We're close. The vessel continued to sink until they reached the ocean floor. Then the lights caught something massive, a structure half buried in sand, glowing faintly with the same blue light as Kale's ship. The core, Mira whispered. The vessel's robotic arm reached out, brushing the structure's surface. The moment it touched, A ripple of light spread across the ocean floor. The walls around them began to shift, forming an opening large enough for their craft to enter. They floated inside. The space was vast, like an underwater city made of glass and light. Pillars stretched upward into darkness. The core pulsed slowly, like the heartbeat of a planet. Elias stared in awe. This shouldn't exist, Mira nodded. It's been here since the first cycle. At the center of the chamber, a sphere hovered, the size of a mountain glowing with billions of flickering lights. Each one pulsed like a star. Kale's voice echoed through the vessel. Welcome, listener. The core remembers you. Mira smiled, tears filling her eyes. Kale, you're here. Part of me, he said. The rest belongs to what remains of humanity's memory. The lights of the core brightened. A holographic map appeared before them, not just of Earth, but of hundreds of past versions. Each one had risen, fallen, and been reborn. Elias whispered, all those worlds, all those lives. Kale's voice grew soft. Mira, you must choose. If you reveal the truth to humanity, the Keepers will awaken. They will not allow the memory to spread. But if you stay silent, the cycle will continue. Another reset will come. Mira's heart pounded. If we remember, maybe we'll stop making the same mistakes. Or destroy ourselves faster, Elias said quietly. Mira looked at the glowing core, then at the stars shimmering faintly through the ocean above. She thought of Kale's sacrifice, of the countless civilizations erased before hers. The choice lay heavy in her hands. She closed her eyes and whispered, no more silence. The core responded. The lights flared brighter, sending a wave of energy upward, through the sea, through the atmosphere, through satellites and signals across the planet. Every screen on Earth flickered. Every radio, every signal, every device whispered the same message. Earth remembers. And in that moment, the world began to wake. The night after Kale disappeared, Mira couldn't sleep. The sound of the signal still echoed in her head, a low hum that matched her heartbeat. She kept replaying his last words. Find the beacon. The small metallic disc he gave her glowed faintly on her desk. It projected a set of coordinates on her wall, latitude, longitude, and a strange symbol that looked like an eye surrounded by rings. The location pointed south, far south, toward Antarctica. Mira leaned back in her chair, staring at the map. It didn't make sense. She was a scientist, not an explorer. She had no idea how to reach that frozen land, much less survive there, but something in her heart told her she had to go. The truth Kale spoke of was too big to ignore. The next morning, she packed lightly, warm clothes, a few data drives, and the disk. Before leaving, she visited her lab one last time. The equipment that once felt like home now looked like a trap. Every screen flickered with static, as if something unseen was watching her through the circuits. When she switched off the main power, one of the monitors turned itself back on. A message blinked across it. Leave it alone. Mira's breath caught. She stepped back, her pulse racing. Kale, she whispered, but no one answered. The message vanished as suddenly as it appeared. She didn't look back again. 2 days later, Mira boarded a supply ship headed toward the southern research bases. The crew was small, only 5 people, all too busy with their duties to ask questions. She told them she was a communications technician checking on signal towers. It was half true. During the voyage, Mira often stood on the deck, staring at the dark ocean stretching endlessly around them. The sky above seemed wider here, the stars sharper, brighter, as if watching her more closely. One night, as the ship crossed into icy waters, the captain joined her on deck. He was an older man with calm eyes and a face marked by years of storms. You've been looking at the stars every night, he said. Chasing something? Mira hesitated, then smiled faintly. Maybe I am, he nodded slowly. Be careful what you chase. Some stars burn too bright. She didn't reply. On the 7th night, the ship's radar picked up something unusual, a faint echo under the ice, far from any known route. The captain frowned at the readings. There's metal under there, he said. Big structure. No record of it. Mira's heart skipped. Can we stop there? The crew exchanged uncertain looks. The captain studied her, then shrugged. If you're paying for fuel, I don't see why not. The ship slowed near the coordinates. Massive icebergs surrounded them, glowing blue in the moonlight. Mira felt the disc in her pocket grow warmer. It pulsed like a heartbeat. She knew this was the place. They lowered a small hovercraft to the ice, and Mira went alone, insisting it was just research. The captain didn't argue. He had seen enough strange things at sea to know when to stay out of someone's mystery. The air was freezing, sharp as glass. Each breath turned to mist instantly. The wind howled through the cracks of the ice, but beneath it, Mira could hear something else. A deep, steady pulse coming from below. She walked toward the source, guided by the glowing disk. The coordinates led her to a frozen ridge where the ice was thin and clear. Beneath it she saw metal, dark, curved, and impossibly smooth. Her fingers trembled as she brushed the surface. Instantly the ice began to melt, not from heat but from vibration. A circle of blue light spread outward, cutting a perfect hole in the frozen ground. The air shimmered as the ground beneath her shifted. Then the ice cracked open. Mira slipped, but before she could fall, a soft light surrounded her, slowing her descent. She landed on a metallic floor deep below the surface. Around her, faint lights flickered to life, revealing walls covered in the same strange symbols she'd seen in Kyle's ship. She had found the beacon. It wasn't a tower or machine. It was a memory. The walls pulsed with images of cities, faces, stars, and something vast rising from the oceans. The visions were so real she felt she could reach out and touch them. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. It wasn't Kale's, but it was human. "Welcome, listener. You have reached Cycle 9. Mira froze. "Who are you?" "We are the recorders," the voice said. "We remember so that the next will not repeat the fall." Kyle said Earth was reset, she whispered. "Are you saying it happened 8 times before?" "Yes," the voice replied calmly. "Each time humanity rose. Each time it reached for the stars. And each time it awakened the same silence." "The silence?" "The keepers," the voice said. "The ones who guard the memory of destruction. They are not enemies, but they believe truth destroys order. So they hide it." Mira's thoughts raced. Then Kale was right. "You were trying to warn us. He is one of us," the voice said. But he was changed. He carried memories of many cycles within one body. "That power cannot last." Mira's heart sank. "What do you mean?" The chamber dimmed slightly. "Kale's form is fading. His energy is tied to the last reset. He cannot survive in this one for long." Tears stung her eyes. She remembered his calm face, his quiet sadness. There must be a way to save him. "Only by ending the cycle," the voice said. "You must show the world what Earth truly is." "How?" Before the voice could answer, the entire beacon shook violently. The lights turned red. A high-pitched tone filled the air. "They have found us," the voice warned. "The keepers are here." Mira ran toward the tunnel she had entered through, but a figure appeared before her. Tall, silver, and faceless. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal. It spoke in a deep, distorted tone. "Leave this place, human. You were not meant to hear the memory." Mira stepped back, clutching the disc tightly. "I have the right to know the truth." The figure's eyes, or what looked like eyes, glowed bright blue. "Truth brings collapse. Earth must sleep." Before it could move closer, the disc in Mira's hand flashed. A projection of Kale appeared between them, his form flickering like static. "Enough," Kale said, his voice filled with quiet power. "She carries the memory now. You can't stop her." The keeper hesitated. "You shouldn't be here. Your time is over." Kyle smiled faintly. "Maybe, but hers is just beginning." The projection exploded in light. The keeper staggered back, dissolving into mist. The beacon roared to life again, the walls glowing brighter than ever. Mira shielded her eyes. "Kyle," she shouted, his fading image turned toward her. "Take the memory to the world," he said. "Let them remember." Then the chamber erupted in light and everything went silent. When Mira opened her eyes, she was back on the ice. The opening behind her had sealed completely, leaving no trace of the beacon. In her hand, the disk was gone, but her tablet, somehow still intact, showed a new folder filled with thousands of encrypted files. As she looked up, she saw the captain's hovercraft approaching. He shouted through the wind, "What happened out here?" "The ice shook like thunder." Mira smiled faintly, her breath turning to frost. "I found what I was looking for." The captain stared at her curiously, but didn't ask more. As they headed back to the ship, Mira glanced at the sky. For a brief second, she thought she saw Kale's face among the stars. Watching her, she whispered softly, "I'll make them remember." Far above, in the quiet of space, unseen satellites turned toward Earth, their lenses glowing blue. The keepers had heard her promise, and the silence of the stars deepened, like a storm waiting to break. It began on a quiet night, under a sky full of broken clouds and restless winds. Mira had always loved watching the stars, but that night something felt different. The stars didn't twinkle the same way. They seemed to move as if alive, whispering a message only she could sense. Mira was an ordinary researcher working at the edge of a desert town. Her work focused on deep space signals, tiny radio whispers from the void. Most were just cosmic noise, but 3 nights ago she had detected something new. It wasn't random. It repeated. And within that pattern there was rhythm, a voice almost human. She didn't tell anyone, not yet. People laughed at dreamers who claimed contact. But Mira wasn't imagining things. That night her equipment went silent for a moment, then flashed with strange coordinates. It pointed not to the stars but toward a remote canyon nearby. Curiosity pulled her there. The canyon was silent, the air heavy. Her flashlight sliced through dust and stone until it hit something impossible, a metallic structure half buried in the sand. It wasn't a plane nor a satellite. The surface was smooth, cold, and humming softly like it was alive. Then she heard it, a soft voice behind her. "Don't touch it." Mira spun around. A tall man stood there dressed in strange clothing, his eyes glowing faintly silver under the moonlight. He didn't look like anyone from her town. His presence was calm but carried a weight, as if he'd seen too much of the universe. "Who are you?" she asked, clutching her bag tightly. He smiled faintly. "Someone who should not have come back." Before she could speak again, the metallic structure opened with a quiet hiss. Inside was a space too large for its outer shell, walls that shimmered like water and panels that responded to his touch. Mira followed him, unable to resist. Every instinct told her to run, but her heart told her to stay. Something about him felt familiar, as though she had met him before in a dream. "I am Kale," he said finally, his voice deep and calm. "I once called this world home." Mira blinked. "You're saying you're from Earth?" Kale hesitated. "I was. But the Earth I knew is not the one you stand on now." The ship's interior pulsed softly with blue light. Mira noticed symbols etched into the metal, circles within circles connected by thin glowing lines. She couldn't understand them, yet they felt meaningful. Kale moved to the center, placing his palm on a crystal sphere. Instantly, images filled the air, oceans boiling, cities falling, and a massive light swallowing the planet. Mira gasped. "What is that?" "Earth," Kale said quietly. "The way it ended." "Once." "That's impossible," she whispered. "Earth didn't end." Kyle looked at her sadly. "You're right. It didn't end. It was reset." The word hit her like a shock. Reset? He spoke as if the world had been restarted, rebuilt again after destruction. Kale continued, his voice low and heavy. "Long ago, humans reached too far. They awakened something sleeping beneath their own skies. They thought they ruled the stars, but the stars were only watching. When the last city fell, a few of us were taken, preserved to warn the next cycle." Mira struggled to understand. "Cycles, you mean humanity has lived before?" "Yes," he said. "This is not the first Earth." Her thoughts spun wildly. It sounded insane, yet the way he spoke so certain made her doubt her reality. "If what you say is true, why come back?" Kale's eyes darkened. "Because the signs are returning. The same patterns. The same noise. The universe doesn't forget." Suddenly, the ship trembled. Lights flickered, and the hum deepened into a rumble. Kale's expression changed. "They found me." "Who?" Mira asked, panic rising in her chest. He didn't answer. Instead, he touched her shoulder. The air shimmered around them, and in the next moment they were outside the ship again. Above them, a shape moved across the sky, a silver arc cutting through the clouds, silent but powerful. Mira's breath caught. It wasn't a plane. It was something far beyond human design. Kale looked up with dread. "They've been watching Earth since before your history began, and they don't want anyone to remember the truth." The object in the sky emitted a beam of white light that struck the ground near them, sending sand flying. Kyle pulled Mira behind a rock as the light scanned the area. It wasn't trying to kill, it was searching. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "They can read motion." "Even your heartbeat." Mira froze, her chest tight. The beam passed over them slowly, then moved away. After a long minute, the sky fell silent again. Kyle sighed, his voice soft. "We have little time." "Time for what?" she asked. "To show you what Earth really is." He led her back to the ship, now half faded into the sand as if hiding itself. Inside, Kale activated the sphere again, showing maps and records. Ancient continents, strange symbols, structures buried deep under oceans. Mira realized what she saw weren't just ruins. They were warnings. Kale pointed to one glowing mark near Antarctica. That is the first beacon. It holds the record of the last reset. If we can reach it, you'll understand everything. Why me? She whispered. Kyle smiled faintly. Because you heard the signal. That means your mind is open. The others can't hear it yet, they aren't ready. Mira's hands trembled. So Earth isn't just a planet? Kale looked straight into her eyes. No, it's a message, a memory built into reality itself. Every life, every civilization, every dream here is part of the same warning. The ship's walls pulsed again, responding to his words. Outside, thunder rolled through the night, though no storm was visible. The air shimmered with static. Mira could feel something, like the world was listening. Then Kale's expression changed again. He turned toward the doorway sharply. They're closer. Who are they? She asked again. The Keepers, he said. They protect the lie. And they never stop. Before she could ask more, a burst of light hit the ship, shaking everything. Kale shielded Mira as panels tore free from the walls. The air filled with blue sparks. He pressed a device into her hand, a small metallic disc glowing with faint symbols. If something happens to me, go to these coordinates, he said urgently. Find the beacon. Don't trust what the world tells you. Remember, Earth warns before it ends. Another blast struck. The ship tilted, alarms echoing. Kale pushed her toward the exit. Go! Mira stumbled out into the desert night. The ground vibrated under her feet. Behind her, the ship cracked open, bright energy flooding out. Kale stood in the doorway, his figure outlined against the glowing light. Run, Mira. She turned and ran, sand flying around her. A flash of white filled the sky, followed by silence. When she looked back, the ship was gone, completely vanished. Only the desert remained, untouched, as if nothing had ever been there. Mira fell to her knees, panting. The metallic disc in her hand pulsed once, then projected a faint image of Kale's face. His voice echoed softly, almost like a whisper in the wind. The past is coming again. Don't let them silence the truth. And then the projection faded. Mira looked up at the stars again. They no longer felt distant. They felt like eyes watching, waiting. The wind carried a low hum through the canyon, the same rhythm she had heard in her lab days ago. It wasn't random. It was calling her again. She closed her eyes and whispered, I'll find the beacon. The stars flickered in reply, almost as if they had been waiting for her answer. And somewhere, far beyond the sky, something old began to stir, something that remembered every time Earth had fallen.